The Jordan River, once a vital lifeline, gradually dried up. But what lay beneath the river's surface was a mystery that had remained hidden for centuries. Now, as the riverbed is exposed, a chilling discovery has been made, sending shockwaves through the scientific community and beyond. What secrets will this long-buried object reveal, and what dark truths will it uncover about the river's ancient past? Let's find out. Located in Southwest Asia, the Jordan River empties into the Dead Sea via the Great Rift Valley. The Jordan River begins near the Syrian-Lebanese border, where the Hasbani River of Lebanon and the Banias River of Syria merge to form the world's lowest-lying river. Eventually, it reaches the Dead Sea after making its way south via northern Israel and the Sea of Galilee. Israel and the West Bank both recognize the river as their de facto border. The Jordan River is 223 miles long from its headwaters to the Dead Sea, despite only being 124 miles long in a straight line. It is one of the most important aspects of the Palestinian landscape because it is the only substantial river in the region. The Jordan River is one of the holiest waterways for Christians, Jews, and Muslims. The Jordan River is mentioned numerous times in both the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, but its most prominent role is as the site of Jesus' baptism. The Jordan River is rather shallow, with its high water period occurring from January to March, and its low water phase occurring at the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall. This pattern repeats itself every year. The stream is moving very quickly and is carrying a significant amount of silt. It is impossible to navigate since its upper path is very steep, its flow changes with the seasons, and its lower channel is quite shallow and twisty. The presence of thermal springs in the river is mostly to blame for its high level of salt. These springs are located on the western side of the Sea of Galilee, in the neighborhood of Tiberias. In addition to that, there is a significant amount of gypsum. The soil will frequently be left with a trace amount of salt when irrigation waters are used. In today's times, between 70 and 90% of the water is appropriated for human consumption, and the flow rate has been drastically decreased. The Dead Sea is losing water at a rapid rate due to this and the high rate of evaporation that it experiences. Since the dawn of the modern era, all of the shallow waters at the southernmost end of the sea have been drained, and the resulting land is now covered in salt flats. The waters of the Jordan River are a resource that is incredibly significant to the dry regions that are located in the area, and they have been a source of contention between Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Israel, and Palestine. Even though Jordan faces problems that are unique to itself, they are a preview of the problems that the region as a whole faces. According to the World Resources Institute, states in the Middle East are at the top of the list of the most water-stressed countries. According to research published by the World Bank in 2017, the region is also a global hotspot of unsustainable water use, and little water available is further damaged by brine output from desalination, pollution, and untreated wastewater. The cost to governments of inadequate water quality might reach up to 2.5% of their gross domestic product. The Max Planck Institute for Chemistry forecasts that daytime temperatures will exceed 116 degrees, and nighttime temperatures will reach almost 90 degrees on average. This will make an already difficult situation much more difficult. And these are not just estimations. In 2016, the highest temperature ever recorded was in Mitrabah, which is located in northern Kuwait. The majority of Jordan's water issues may be reduced to straightforward mathematical equations. In the decade of the 1950s, the city had a population of approximately 500,000 people. There are now more than 10 million people living in a country that, according to academics, has an inadequate water supply to support a population of more than 2 million people. The United Nations defines absolute scarcity of a resource as occurring when that resource falls below a certain threshold, and that threshold is 500 cubic meters per year. Residents make do with 135 cubic meters, which is equivalent to around 36,000 gallons of water per person each year. The population boom is less attributable to Jordanians' high birth rates than it is to the country's status as an oasis of stability in an otherwise volatile region of the world. As a result of the creation of Israel in 1948 and the subsequent conflict in 1967, Palestinians were forced out of their homes and into Jordan. Jordan is also home to Lebanese and Iraqi refugees who fled U.S. bombing and sanctions, as well as more than 1 million Syrians who fled their country following the Syrian civil war in 2011, as well as Yemenis and Libyans. If there is a conflict in the region, Jordan is probably hosting the refugees from that conflict. The number of refugees in the country was estimated to be 2.9 million in a census that took place in 2016, and this figure takes into account the approximately 1 million migrant workers already living there. The Syrian crisis alone raised the demand for water by an average of 20%, says Salome. According to him, the number is twice as high in the northern regions of the kingdom where the majority of the refugees are located. On the supply side, where Jordan is concerned, things aren't any better because they have to fight against the tyranny of location. The diplomatic tensions that have been escalating between King Abdullah II of Jordan and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the past year have contributed to the deterioration of the already poor state of relations between the two countries. The most recent situation of this kind was addressed recently, when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave his approval to Amman's request for more water rations from the Jordan River. The Jordanian administration had made the request over a month earlier. As part of the peace accord, Jordan is permitted to make a request for an extra water supply. Because of this, the monarchy has been obliged to turn its attention inward, engaging in deep water research of desert areas and digging wells that are deeper than a mile. After the project, those efforts are anticipated to have produced 70 million cubic meters of water. It's not cheap, but it's necessary for the day and age when the kingdom's relations with its neighbors over water issues continue to be a source of contention. According to Salome, you can't predict what the political situation is going to be, and you shouldn't even try. Jordan will continue to be susceptible to the difficulties that are imposed on it by the circumstances surrounding its water supply, so long as there is no prospect of peace in the region. Israel began operating a dam in 1964 that transfers water from the Sea of Galilee, a significant source of water for the Jordan River, to the national water carrier. In the same year, Jordan constructed a channel that is used to redirect water from the Yarmouk River, which is another important Jordan River tributary. These actions caused significant disruption to the natural environment. Syria has also constructed reservoirs in order to collect the waters of the Yarmouk. When a dam that was constructed jointly by Syria and Jordan begins running, it is anticipated that the flow of water from the Yarmouk to the Jordan River would be reduced to a trickle. The destruction of the freshwater vegetation that once thrived along the river's banks is being held responsible by environmentalists in Israel, Jordan, and Syria. As a result of the three countries' efforts to repopulate the river with sewage water, agricultural runoff, and salt water, it has been replaced by vegetation that thrives in salty environments. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Jordan River was the source of fertility for a wide plain known as Kikar HaYarden. This plain was known as the Garden of God because of the abundant flora that could be found there, according to the Book of Genesis, chapter 13, verse 10. There are around 175 allusions to the Jordan River in the Old Testament of the Christian Bible, and there are approximately 15 references to the Jordan River in the New Testament of the Christian Bible. Many of these references are scattered and vague. When Abraham and Lot parted ways, the Jordan River was mentioned for the first time in the Bible. Before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot raised his eyes and saw that the Jordan Valley was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, in the direction of Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. They became estranged from one another as a result of Lot's decision to travel eastward and claim the entirety of the Jordan Valley for himself. At the ford of the Jabbok River, which is a tributary of the Jordan, Jacob was given the new name Israel. In the middle of the night he got up, gathered his 2 wives, his 2 maids, and his 11 children, and headed toward the Jabbok River to ford it. He carried them with him and cast them across the river, along with everything else that he possessed at the time. And Jacob was left to his own devices, and a man wrestled with him until morning broke. As soon as the other man saw that he was not going to be able to defeat Jacob, he reached out and touched the hollow of his leg. As a result, Jacob's thigh became dislocated as he continued to grapple with him. After that, he remarked, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." But Jacob responded, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Then he questioned him by asking, "What is your name?" And he uttered the name Jacob. After that, he spoke to him and said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed." It is known as the line of demarcation between the 2 tribes and the half-tribe that settled to the east, according to Numbers 34, and the 9 tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh that settled to the west, that according to Joshua chapter 13. Joshua led the settlement of the western tribes. It was known as the Jordan of Jericho since it was located opposite Jericho. There are multiple fords that can be taken across the Jordan River. One of these fords is infamous for being the location where Jephthah was said to have killed a large number of Ephraimites. It would appear that the fords in question are the same ones that were stated as being close to Beth Barah, which is where Gideon ambushed the Midianites. The clay ground where Solomon's brass foundries were situated can be found in the plain of the Jordan, between the cities of Sukkoth and Zarthan. This according to 1 King chapter 7. In the history of the Bible, the Jordan River is mentioned as being the setting for a number of miraculous events. The first of these events took place when Joshua led the Israelites across the Jordan River near Jericho. After some time, the 3 tribes and half-tribe that had moved east of the Jordan erected a sizable altar on the banks of the river to serve as a witness between themselves and the other tribes. It is reported that Elijah and Elisha crossed the Jordan River without getting their feet wet. Elisha performed 2 other miracles near the Jordan River. He cured Naaman by having him wash in its waters, and he made the axe of one of the children of the prophets float by tossing a piece of wood into the river. Both of these miracles can be found in the Book of Kings. The Israelites arrived at the end of their journey through the wilderness after Joshua had succeeded Moses as the leader of the nation. They entered the Promised Land by crossing the Jordan River, which, similar to the parting of the Red Sea for them, was accomplished through a supernatural occurrence. Possibly the most important reference that the New Testament makes to the Christian faith is found in Matthew 3, which describes the baptism of Jesus by John the Baptist that took place in the Jordan River. That's all for today, but we'll be back with more videos soon. So until then, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching.